Good day to every bright mind who's watching this video. I'm your Kuya Justin and I'm here to present to you a very shocking experiment where we'll be doing our own DIY electroscope. But before that, let's discuss the important fundamentals of this experiment. Electrostatics is a study of electromagnetic phenomena that occurs when there are no moving charges, or to simply put it, the study of stationary electric charges. Electrically charged objects can either be positively charged or negatively charged. Always remember that opposites attract each other, which means that positive attracts negative, and like charges repel each other, which means that positive repels positive and negative repels negative. Most objects start out electrically neutral, but with the process of charging, we can manually create an imbalance in the electrons and protons of the object and either charge it positively or negatively. We have three ways to charge an object. We can charge it by friction, by conduction, and by induction. Charging by friction, as the name states, requires us to rub objects against each other to create friction. Conduction requires direct contact for the transfer of electrons, and induction is done with indirect contact. In electrostatics, we also have to put in mind the capabilities of our object to transfer electrons. Conductors are materials that can easily let electric charges flow through. On the other hand, insulators can barely let any electric charge move through. With all the important information aside, let's now proceed to what activity we have for today. An electroscope enables us to visually witness the existence of charges. It's an early scientific instrument that is dated from its creation in the 1600s in the form of Tilburg's Beryllium. So, this marks it as the first electrical measuring instrument. However, an electroscope can only detect a rough indication of the quantity of the charge. Now that everyone's informed and oriented about the topic's fundamentals for today, let us now proceed with the activity itself. In our creation of our own electroscope, we'll only be needing materials that you can find on your own home. We'll be needing a jar, aluminum foil, and copper wire. You can get a piece of copper wire from any unused wires in your home, but the cable TV connector is the most advisable one as it is composed of a single solid copper wire. Let's first start with our jar. You'll be needing a transparent jar that has a lid on it. It should be tall enough and wide enough to see the result, which is going to be inside the jar. Let's cut a hole in the center of the lid, puncture it just enough for the copper wire to pass through. Let's first fit the copper wire with any kind of insulator so that the charge that we'll be sending through this copper wire doesn't get into contact with the lid. We'll be using a straw, just enough to fit the copper wire. We'll be placing it here, where the lid and the wire comes into contact. Once you've done punching a hole through the lid, get your copper wire and bend it in a spiral form. Be careful, the tip of the wire is sharp. Once done, we'll make a hook out of the other end. We're going to place our aluminum foil in this hook. But first, let's cut it into small pieces. Punch a hole enough for it to be hooked onto the wire. You can now close it up so that we can start the experiment.
Hello, how are you? Hi vlog, welcome to my guys.
Hello there.
Why are we still here? Just to suffer?
My disappointment is immeasurable.
I miss you, Bill. Tutok mo, tutok mo. Kita ba? Kita ba? Kita. Tutukin. Hello there. Ah! So we used a rolled plastic cover and a knitted bonnet to create friction. In this fashion, we made a disruption between the electrons of the two, making the plastic cover more negatively charged. So we then made the copper wire and the plastic cover come into contact. The negatively charged electrons from the plastic cover are now transmitted through the copper wire and into the aluminum foil. So this made aluminum foil both negatively charged and made the two repel with each other. This device has really helped me visualize the flow and fundamentals of electrostatics. I'm a visual learner myself, and this activity with the aluminum foil reacting with each other really made me solidify my understanding of the topic. So seeing the factors affect each other, seeing it really happening in front of me, really made me familiarize with the topic and made me have a much deeper connection with the topic itself. Our electroscope detects the charge that we're dealing with by transmitting it through the conductor, where it transfers the gathered electrons to our neutrally charged objects on the other end. These gathered electrons may be positive or negative, transmits to the objects which charges it up. So the area of our conductor greatly affects how our electric charges will relay through it. So in this activity, we use a thick copper wire, so it really benefited the flow of our electric charges. So let me explain. So this comes up to the composition of the wires. So thinner copper wires has less electrons in it. So these electrons are the ones going to carry the electric charge that we're going to go through it. So with the bigger or thicker copper wire, it has more electrons in it, which can carry the electric charge that we're going to transmit to it or through it. So with this, we have a lesser resistance because it has more electrons, which really benefited the activity we had right now. So because of the electric charge that we relayed through our conductive material, we managed to transfer the electric charge to the two objects, which made it both negatively charged. So this is why they both repel each other. Negative repels negative. In this activity that we've done, I got the chance to visually see the interactions of electrons and its behavior. I got to see the repel of negatively charged objects, the way the copper wire transmitted the negatively charged electrons, and how we ourselves created the negative charge. It was a great way to understand the topic we had this third quarter, which made me value the knowledge more. I got to explore deeper about the topic rather than just learning about the textbook definitions and answering some problems. This was a great way to end the quarter and to assess our learning. So that's all the time that we have for today. I hope everyone learned and had a great time. So this is the end of the episode. I hope to see you once more.